This is Robert Kraft, and I'm your host on SNN.Network. And joining me today is Paige Tucker. He is the president and CEO of ProStar Holdings Inc. It's a publicly traded company. I got two symbols for you: MAPPF on the OTCQX and MAPS on the TSX Venture. And ProStar will be presenting at our upcoming in-person investor conference, the Planet MicroCap Showcase, happening May 3rd through the 5th, 2022 at Bally's Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas. And with that, Paige, it's good to see you. Thank you for joining me today. How are you doing?
My pleasure. I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. So last time we did an interview together, we published that on August 27, 2021. So I'd love to get an update. What would you say are some of the company's highlights since that interview?
Well, what's happened is in March of last year, we developed an entirely new platform. We were running on Microsoft Azure. Took us over 2 years to redevelop our platform, and we're now operating on AWS, Amazon Web Services. What that did is it completely modernized our cloud and mobile platform. We actually had to rewrite every single piece of source code, not only on the mobile app, but on the cloud platform as well. And now our system is so much more robust, so much more scalable, works in any country, any currency, any language. We can even guarantee what's called data sovereignty. So we're in discussions with some groups in other countries right now, and we can guarantee that the data will reside in that country. Because a lot of times, especially when you're dealing with utilities and pipelines, which are sensitive assets to most governments, there's a concern about the data and where that data will reside, and also the security. So we can address all of those issues now. So that was a major development milestone for us. Then what we did is we brought on several large companies, what we call trusted testers, to make sure that it meets all of their business requirements. And in return, we allow them to provide feedback to us on any enhancements or features that they would like to see added into the solution in order for them to adopt it into their daily business practices. We brought on KCI, very large engineering surveying firm, national in the US, WSB, another group called T2 Utility Engineers, which actually has operations in Canada, one of the largest engineering surveying firms in Canada. But they also have over 20 offices in the US. And then another large civil contracting company called Kramer. It took them several months to test the software, provide feedback. We added in all the enhancements and features that they had requested. And then all of them have adopted our software as part of their business operations and signed service level agreement with us. So again, that was a major milestone. And then from there, what we did is we started expanding into other markets. For example, a small municipality out of Iowa called New Hampton, Iowa, adopted our solution. I was really excited about that because I knew that the municipal market would provide huge opportunity for us. In fact, there's over 38,000 municipalities in the United States with a population of under 20,000. The reason I picked that number is because a majority of them will still be operating off of paper maps that are in a file drawer. And if you want any information about, where their water systems are or their sewage systems prior to construction, you either go down to City Hall and they take a copy of those paper maps and hand them to you, or they'll fax them to you. So I'm pretty confident over a period of time that all of those municipalities will move to a digital mapping system. So I'm encouraged that we're starting to penetrate into the municipal market. We also brought on board the township of Aberdeen in New Jersey, another small municipality. We did that just a few weeks after we brought on New Hampton. In fact, the state of New Jersey has mandated that all the municipalities have to provide back to the state where their water systems are located and do so digitally. So I think we're poised quite well to be able to capitalize on that mandate. And we're going to do a case study on the township of Aberdeen and then share that with all the other municipalities. We also brought on a university, Grinnell College in Iowa. Universities are, microcosms of of a small city. They also have to manage their assets both above ground and below ground. And of course, our solution is designed to manage, not only utility lines and pipelines, but in fact, street signs and manhole covers, even park benches. So it's a complete enterprise GIS asset management system. We just completed a case study on Grinnell, and again, we're going to push that out to all the universities and colleges throughout the U.S. because I think there's significant opportunity with the universities and with the colleges. We even signed Tulsa Zoo, and we had a little fun with the press release. We said that Tulsa Zoo adopts ProStar's PointMan to protect the public, the pipes, and the penguins. But all humor aside, in talking to Tulsa Zoo, they said that there's huge opportunity for ProStar for our cloud and mobile solution because every zoo and aquarium also needs to do a much better job on managing their assets.
Right.
And then a couple of weeks ago, we put out another press release. We brought on Kokosing. They're one of the largest heavy highway construction companies in the United States. So, what I'm seeing is we're starting to see that that uptick, that ramp up in the amount of customers that we're starting to acquire, and not only in construction and engineering, but as I mentioned, we're moving into other market verticals, including the municipal market, and also with the universities, and even bringing on a zoo. So I'm pretty excited going into this year about how many clients I think that we'll be onboarding. Our sales pipeline is starting to ramp up, and I'm pretty excited about this year.
Very good. And thank you for that full update there, Paige. So last time we chatted, we also talked about, the infrastructure bill and the types of the kind of impact it potentially can have for ProStar. I believe that was passed, right? If I'm not mistaken, back in November. So I'd like to get an update there. How has the passing of the infrastructure bill affected ProStar?
What we're starting to see is a lot of these big construction companies, engineering, surveying firms have projects that are starting to ramp up. They actually haven't kicked off yet. In discussion with, say, for example, the Colorado Department of Transportation, which is one of our clients, they expect to see that money coming down from the federal level to the state level with the state Department of Transportation agencies, and then work its way down to the municipal market. And the reason I say that is there's about, out of the $1.2 trillion, there's about 300 billion that's actually earmarked for what I consider to be critical infrastructure. So your roads, bridges, highways, railway systems. But in addition to that, underground infrastructure that includes our water systems, sewage systems, and also expansion of broadband. I expect that money to start trickling down over the next, say, 30 to 90 days. A lot of these big construction projects normally ramp up, after the winter, going into the spring and throughout the summer. And so I'm very encouraged by the amount of money that will be coming in to upgrade and replace our infrastructure. And I feel that we're well positioned to be able to capitalize just because we work with the large, we work with one of the largest infrastructure construction companies in North America. We work with the largest engineering and surveying firms that are involved in a business practice that's called subsurface utility engineering. We have the Colorado Department of Transportation that actually mandated our software. And then we work with most of the major equipment manufacturers that design the GPS equipment and the surveying equipment and what's called the electromagnetic cable and pipe locating devices that are required to locate where the utilities and pipelines are located. So as I mentioned, I think we're poised to be able to capitalize on that infrastructure bill.
Very good. So then I asked you this also last year. So I'm going to ask you this again because we're about over 6-9 months later. So from what you can tell us, what would you now say? And you mentioned this already a couple of times, but to get a better picture, what would you say are the 1 to 2 things investors should best understand about the ProStar opportunity for the rest of 2022?
Well, number one, the microcap market has been under serious duress going back to about March of last year. So I think there's some really good investment opportunities within the microcap market. The question is uncovering, which opportunity is better than the other. We've designed a solution that will precisely capture, record, and display where utilities and pipelines are located, not only in the United States, but our solution works anywhere in the world. And I like to put things into perspective. There's 2.5 million miles of paved roads in the US. And we know, as you mentioned, from all of the campaigning that was coming out of the White House, last year, that our roads, bridges, highways, railway systems are becoming dilapidated and in serious need of repair and replacement. Well, there's 35 million miles of buried utilities and pipelines in the United States. So the above ground infrastructure pales in comparison to the below ground infrastructure. And it is out of sight and therefore out of mind. We don't know if there's a problem with the below ground infrastructure until many times it's too late. Or during all this construction that's going to take place on our roads and our bridges and our highways and our railway systems, if we don't know where the utilities and pipelines are located, there's a very high probability that there's going to be significant damage to the below ground infrastructure unless we can identify where those utilities and pipelines are located. And I like to explain to people, think of us as the Google Maps of the underground. We can actually locate where the utilities and pipelines are down to the centimeter and display that information so that during construction, they can avoid hitting those utilities and pipelines, which is very important because if you hit a utility or pipeline, some bad things can happen. You can have major flooding. You could have traffic delays that last for several hours. You could have dangerous petroleum products that are seeping in to our water systems, which is happening far too frequently. But if you hit a high pressure gas line, there's a high probability you're going to have an explosion. And when you do, the public can be injured, the worker could be injured, or in worst case scenario, you could have loss of life. And I would argue that the loss of life scenario is happening far too frequently, and that number is only going up every year. So you take into consideration the infrastructure bill, we have designed and proven that we have a solution that will identify precisely where utilities and pipelines are located down to the centimeter. And then you add the fact that we have hundreds of billions of dollars that are going to be poured into the economy specifically to repair and replace our roads, our bridges, our highways, our railway systems, but also our water systems, our sewage systems, and expansion on broadband, excuse me. It just demonstrates that we're well positioned, and I think there's significant value in investing in ProStar, particularly at this time.
Very good. Well, Paige, with that, where can our audience go and find more information on ProStar?
Well, for investment purposes, you can go to www.prostarcorp.com. If you want to know specifically more about our cloud and mobile solution, you can go to www.PointMan.com.
And that's www.PointMan.com, right?
Yes, sir.
Well, with that, Paige, thank you so much for joining me today. I really do appreciate it. Good luck, stay safe, and look forward to seeing you and the whole team in Vegas.
I do as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you.